How was the work with the screenwriter and how did you end in the project?
I discovered the script when it was sent to me by my agents that I just started a working relationship with after Bullhead. I read the script, loved it, but at the time it was a little bit too high level and David Cronenberg was attached to it. But they sent it to me to get a little bit of, to feel what my taste was, because I had a lot of scripts and I picked that one out. They said, oh great, congratulations, you have great taste, but you know, it's not for you yet. I'm like, yeah, all right, thank you.
Not yet.
Not yet. You're nice, good taste, you can read, perfect. But it came back because David went for another, Cronenberg went for another movie. The script traveled around a little bit. In the meantime, Bullhead was nominated. I got, you know, a little bit more of attention, credibility because of that, and I was happy to have it come back to me. And so then I met Dennis Lehane. Dennis was, you know, very generous in his way of working. You know, he said, "This is my story, this is my script, it's your film. Here you go." And I could do things with it. I could manipulate, like rewrite little pieces and then send it to him, and he would like Lehane it, you know, in Lehane's speech.
I actually read it before you.
Yes, you read it.
I read it early and I loved it. And I was trying to find something, me and Tom were trying to find something to do together. So I read it and I was like, started to think about him, and then I heard that they wanted to send it to Michaël, and I loved Bullhead. So when I heard that, I was like, okay, go and get him. And I came to Brussels and we met and we connected. We spoke for 8 hours, and I was texting with Tom and telling him about, you're gonna love Michaël, you know, I think we should do this. So it's like from that point, everything kind of happened quite organic.
Yeah, absolutely.
How was working with American genre conventions?
It was a challenge. It was not easy in the beginning, and not because it's not about better or worse. You know, it's its own system and it works because there come a lot of great movies. And I think the difference is that in Belgium, it's all about the financing, how the movies are financed, and that profiles the industry. If we're getting money from government, it's nobody's money. I mean, it's everyone's money, but psychologically, the director owns the film a little bit more. He's like left alone as well with it because he's kind of responsible for the fact that he gets the money.
It's more people you need to communicate with in the States.
And in the States, it's the movie is owned by the guy who gives the money, and that makes it more like a team. That everybody's more involved in the making of the film. So as a European, many Europeans are not used to it. They're like, whoa, 1 second, what's going on? So, but the moment that you realize how it works, it actually is an asset. It really becomes, you start to understand how it is that they make so many good films this way. And I start to embrace it at the point, and it was, of course, it was a bumpy road, you know, and the studio and the producers were very patient with my behavior. So they were cool, and they're very, it's also, you know.
But also, you know what you want. It's easier. Like, I think if you would be someone with more insecurity, you know, to be questioned and to you know, you need to stand up for things. You need to explain. You need to kind of invite people and make them understand how you see it. And you're really good at it. So
they need to know. If you like and close yourself and you feel they think you're insecure and that you're losing, you know, the grip, and then they start to interfere. I mean, they didn't do it with me, but I can see it happening maybe with others. Why sometimes it works, it goes wrong.
Like some amazing like European directors.
But they can't make that connection, and you need to communicate. You need to, because and it's like I always say, it's everything is casting. You know, like bring the right people to the right project. It's not only it's with everybody, and it's in a way as a director. When you go and meet the producers of a project, you have to feel that they're smart, intelligent, and people that you can rely on. It's hard because you only see them a couple of times, but you need to feel it. And sometimes I meet people that I immediately know, interesting project, but you and I, we're not going to get along. It's going to kill the project. Let's stay in peace.
And sometimes you meet
shaking-
people and
yeah.
you know that we're gonna get along.
And that's important.
Like us.
Yes, we get along.
Like, we get along.
And we will always get along.
One of the things I liked the most in the movie is your chemical between you and Tom Hardy. How was working with him?
Fantastic. I love working with him. He's my friend, and you know, I remember when I saw, actually Wuthering Heights was the first thing I saw with him. Then I saw Bronx, and then I started to kind of watch everything he'd done, and we met, and you know, he's one of the best actors, I think. And I think we work in we have a similar way of going like all in, and you know, doing whatever is needed and necessary to become the person, the character. And we've done 2 films, and I love working with him.
How was working with the dog?
Well, I'm a broken angel and the dog is a saint,
Yeah.
right?
It comes from a saint. Yes, he's because the dog is symbolizes a little bit the innocence that where all the characters are looking for, you know, and he is, you know, that's what animals are for us.
And it also becomes a bridge
And a
between
bridge,
them, like, you know,
yeah.
it's almost like a line, you know, a safe line. I can talk to you over this line because I don't need to talk about you or me. We can talk about this other thing.
I think also Bob's a character that lost his soul. It's frozen because of the past. You know, he has too many demons, and the soul is like boxed. And he almost literally finds his soul again, opening the box, and there is it. And there's this other character, Eric Dietz, you know, that is actually also looking, but he's beating up his soul. You know, he can't live with that thing.
Yeah.
And then when he sees someone else is having it, he wants it back. It's
That's
like
the beauty in this film, actually.
Yeah.
You know, it's a lot of things to discover, and you know, I've seen it a couple of times now, and it's always something new. There's a lot of symbolism and religion, and you know, it's almost like you're kind of drawing those big paintings, and then there's a lot of very alive details in it that will, you know, you will kind of keep coming back to, and the dog has you know, it means. It has many meanings.
Yeah, that's why we called him Rocco. In the story it was different, but I was doing scouting in churches, and I was doing some research online and discovered that there was a saint called Saint Rocco that was the patron saint of dogs and lonely people.
Perfect.
And there was and you know, and of the so the whole story came, and also it's the saint carried around in The Godfather too, when they're in the streets, and there's the procession goes on with the killing. It's Saint Rocco. It's the same saint. So I thought, wow, and there's a church in Brooklyn and that they have, and then in New York, where the saint has his church. So. And I put it there, and I said, like, why if Bob is, like, you know, religious and he's not really inspired finding a name for the dog, and then he's looking around in his church and by accident he sees, of course, the saint, and there's a dog, it's Saint Rocco. He's like, yeah, call it Rocco. Or Mike.
Oh.
No, Mike is the bad name.
I like Mike.
Okay.